We are
the Network Blender.
Welcome to the Network Blender. We are so excited to be back today. We are so proud to have conversations in this group. Don't you love this group?
Absolutely.
Yes. Conversations with local leaders, business owners, the nonprofits that really do make a difference every single day in our lives and in our community.
Right.
I'm Tammy Escobedo. I am a beauty industry leader with the Pink Door Studio, and I'm very excited to have a business where we do really build friendships.
That's right.
It's so fun. So sit back and relax. We're going to meet a few people today. We're going to have Kim Johnson with the local blend. That's going to be so exciting. Everything going on in our community. I have a couple of things to share with you in Zen and Juice about health and wellness. Everybody's looking at that. It's the first of the year, right? And then the one that holds us together always, the one that is the network mixer guru, Maya Crowsey. Thank you for always doing all the things that you do. And then our very own Mayor Pro Tem for the City of Heath and City Councilman Scott Dodson, who always heads up our Shaken Not Stirred segment. That's
Thanks,
so
Tammy.
fun.
Really excited about that today. And, we've got a special dignitary for everybody to listen to, given that this is election season. And, we're really excited to get things kicked off.
Real stories,
right?
Real leaders, real impact.
Yeah, real estate talk.
Real estate. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Senator Bob Hall and Scott Dodson.
I plan to be a hotshot football player. And not my choice. God had laid this out. My plans to retire at the beach in Destin were shattered. And so that's how I got involved with the Tea Party.
Right.
If not us, who? And if not now, when?
Yes, sir.
We won it by exactly 300 votes. So I go to God every day on my knees and ask for his wisdom, his courage, and his strength to know and do his will.
That's awesome.
And I will keep that promise.
From the Capitol to our streets, today's conversation is really about service, leadership, and legacy. We are truly honored to have our Texas State Senator Bob Hall with us today. He is a veteran. He comes from the Air Force. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Senator, very much. We really appreciate you.
Thank
yes,
you.
sir.
He is. Another thing that I learned about our senator is he's an electrical engineer.
Yes.
Wow, that's
and you
fantastic.
worked in the aerospace community for quite some time.
Yes, I did.
Corporate America and as a consultant. When in 1984, if I remember correctly, you chose to walk away from corporate America so that he could give back to the community and got into politics. So we're real excited that you are here. He has a beautiful bride named Kay, who I have had the pleasure of meeting. She's amazing. And 4 wonderful sons that I know you're proud of. And, I'm sure they've been very supportive of all the things that you've done. So thank you for being here today. We're real excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's an
All
honor
Thanks,
to be
Senator.
here.
First, I want to thank you for your service, and thank you so much for being here for us today. But I have got to ask you this question, Senator. Whenever you are in Austin, what is your favorite place to eat? I have to know.
All about the food.
Yes, I'm a foodie.
Well, it's hard for me to actually come down with just one because there really are so many good places there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one that's not far from the condo called Juliet's.
Oh,
And it is an indoor and outdoor seating.
Oh.
And summertime it gets a little warm outside. And but it's a great atmosphere, very laid back. And it's not far from where we live. So
is a little hole in the wall that you wouldn't typically walk into, or is it something that everybody knows?
no, most people know it. It's
Okay.
I would say it's an upscale restaurant.
Okay.
It's a nice restaurant. It's classy, but it's fairly laid back.
Okay.
Is that Italian or?
It's a little bit of everything.
Oh,
Okay.
well, we'll have to try it
So
out.
Juliet's, let's go.
Yeah,
That's good.
we have Rockwall County Days.
Yes, we do.
Rockwall
Yeah,
County
that
Days
sounds
coming up, and I plan on being there, so I'm going to try it. So thanks for that
Great.
information.
Yes. So what we're going to do now is, Scott, take it away.
Thanks again very
Thanks.
much. Senator, again, thank you very much, not only for your service, but for all of the service that you've done in our community for so many years. And, I think that our listeners and the people that are out there watching, would really kind of like to hear your story. How did you come into politics? And how long have you been a part of the political landscape here in Texas?
Well, it's interesting you'd ask that because it's a question I ask myself. Right after I got elected.
Did it fall in the be careful what you ask for category? Okay.
How did this happen?
Right.
And why did it happen the way that it did? And I honestly, my answer is God started working on me a long time ago. And he messed with me throughout my whole life.
Okay.
Taking me places I never intended to go.
Right.
I had no thought about doing, and changed things that I thought I was going to do because that's what I wanted to do.
Right.
And it bothered me for years that it was that way, even though I was raised in a good, strong Christian family that barely ever missed a Sunday in church.
Right.
And I knew Jesus Christ from the time I was still in elementary school.
Fantastic.
But I'd say that he led me in doing things that put me in a position of leadership and kept me away from things that I shouldn't necessarily be doing.
Right.
High school, I was once the vice president of the student body, played football, basketball, captain or co-captain of the team.
Right.
And I planned to be a hot shot football player. That was where I was going.
Yeah.
And I got a serious back injury.
Okay.
And it took me out, put me in traction for about 6 months.
Okay.
I was tied up in bed. They said at that age they'd rather trade it that way than the surgery.
Boy, that had to be really humbling.
So that took away all of that, and wasn't sure what I was going to do. But I knew when my graduated, got near my senior year, my best friend was a year ahead of me. He played quarterback ahead of me. He'd gotten a scholarship at a little school up in South Carolina called the Citadel.
Right.
And he invited me up for a weekend and
Right.
said, come up. So I did. I drove up there and I took a look around and I realized, well, maybe this is what I need. Because, see, I had recognized that all of my friends had graduated a year ahead of me and went to either Miami or Florida State or University of Florida. They'd all flunked out.
Okay. Right.
But they came home with great stories,
Sure.
like partying and girls and things like that.
Absolutely.
And I
That
said,
happens.
that's going to happen to me if I don't. But I looked around here; they lock you in the barracks
They
at
do.
night, march you to breakfast. You wear a uniform and closely supervised. And so I said, maybe this is what I need for that first year until I develop my own personal discipline. I can handle this. And so I decided. My dad, who's a World War II disabled veteran, that's good with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't, the price was right, so I did. And that first year, when my parents dropped me off at the sign-in location, I disappeared. They
Right.
took me, and the first thing I went to was a session on the honor code,
Okay.
where we're taught, you're going to be here, you are not going to lie, you're not going to cheat, you're not going to steal. And the big one, you're not going to tolerate anyone who does.
Right.
Because you see someone doing one of those three and you don't report them, you are guilty of it.
Yeah.
And the faculty doesn't enforce this. It's the cadets that enforce it. So that was like laying the foundation there. And then in those days, the plebe year, first year, was very physical and mentally straining. And I found that the only way to survive that was to never, never quit.
Mm.
And the other was to, when you're given a task, you figure out a way to get it done.
Right.
You innovate, you adapt, and overcome.
Right.
And so
That's one of the core principles of the military.
Yes,
Right.
in there. And so my plan to leave there at the end of my freshman year, because you can't quit. I said, I can't quit.
Right.
I'm here. Besides that, I kind of fell in love with the Air Force,
Mm-hmm.
and now I was going to be a hotshot fighter pilot.
Right.
And so I worked real hard, double E major. Started out with 150 something in our class, double E majors. We graduated 11 of us
Wow.
out of that.
Wow.
But each year I received an award for the outstanding sophomore, junior, and then my senior year, I was a ranking Air Force cadet, received the award for the cadet having contributed most of the school, captain of the skydiving team,
Right.
and I was going to be a hotshot fighter pilot, except God had other plans.
Okay. Sometimes God's plan and his timing is different than ours, right?
I couldn't pass the physical.
Okay.
I had 20/25 vision.
Oh my gosh.
It's
Okay.
that close, 20/25, yes. And so they said, but what sure we're going to do with you because we got orders for you to go to flight school.
Right.
We can't send you there, so we got to send you someplace else. So they scrambled around. And they came back with a couple of options. They asked me first, where do I want to go? And I said, I don't know. I've never been anywhere.
Right.
For 4 years, I was driven between Tampa, Florida, and Charleston, South Carolina. So cut corner of Georgia. I visited somebody in Alabama once.
Right.
And I said, I don't want to go to Alabama.
Right.
But so they came back with 2 assignments. Both were in California. One was in the Bay Area and San Francisco, and one was just outside of Los Angeles, in San Bernardino, California.
Right.
Now, I had just seen an Annette Funicello movie.
Oh, okay.
Bingo.
Yes, with her and who was the male lead on that? Gosh darn it, I know, but listen, I understand that.
And so I said, I'll take the San Bernardino. How's that?
Right.
He said, okay. Now, this is God's hand in there. So I got in my car, drove from Tampa out there on the 31st of July, 1964. And when I arrived there, the officer, when I handed my orders, he looked at me and he says, you can't come here. I said, what do you mean I can't come here? That's what my orders say. He said, no, he said, you're a second lieutenant. And we have a distance. See, that I was being assigned to the Minuteman Intercontinental Ballistic Missile Program Office.
Okay.
Top program in DOD because of the Cold War with Russia.
Sure, you bet.
And so they said, no, we have a dispensation. Unless you're a senior captain with a master's degree, we don't have to take you.
Wow.
And I said, okay, well, what am I going to do? So, well, I don't know. We'll see if we can figure it out. So about the next 3 weeks, I interviewed with just about every program office there. I learned how to shoot pool real good.
Good.
I'd go to the old club and shoot pool, waiting for the phone call.
Every now and then somebody needs some pocket money, so I get it.
And so finally, that's about 3 weeks, this major navigator who was a Naval Academy graduate came back, and he'd been traveling. He came back in. And they said, we got one more person we talk to. His name is Major Allie White. Mm-hmm. We kind of hit it off. We started talking football.
Okay.
And that worked. It kind of bonded us in there because we both agreed. See, that year, John Hewitt had won the Heisman Trophy, and the New York Jets had hired him and Joe Namath.
Gotcha.
Oh.
All right.
For I think either $200,000 or $400,000 or something like that. And we both agreed that Hewitt better bank his money because Namath was going to be the quarterback.
You bet. Yep.
It was, and he said, "I'll never forget it." He looked at me and he says, he says, Lieutenant, he says, I got so much work to do. He was a little more colorful than that. But he said, I got so much work to do. I would hire anybody. Take that desk right over there. Right. And so it was in a room where it was about a third the size of what this room is.
Okay.
And I did. And so there's not my choice. God had laid this out because none of this was other than seeing the Annette Funicello movie. I did nothing to this. And so, but over the next 2 to 3 years, I was a project officer working on them, but I kind of developed a reputation for solving problems. Mm-hmm. So what I had learned at the Citadel about being innovate, adapt, and overcome, and not quitting, I wouldn't accept the problem as not being solvable. So I'm going to solve problems. Just after I made captain, which had been 3.5 years there, the Department of Defense office called DARPA, which is a scientific office, came to the program office and said, guys, we have a serious problem with our Minuteman missile system. We've discovered a brand new threat that we never knew existed when we were doing the high altitude nuclear testing called Starfish Prime. And that's where we're detonating nuclear weapons in outer space. They'd gotten so big we could no longer set them off on the desert floor or buried in Nevada because it was knocking the chips off the tables in Las Vegas.
Right, okay,
literally.
Right.
They said this thing is called an EMP, electromagnetic pulse.
Yes.
And it said it would have the capability of destroying our missiles in flight. And the first thought was, well, we'll just develop our own weapon to use against their weapons. Because, see, from MAD, mutually assured destruction, where we were, it didn't matter whether Russia or the U.S. started the war. Both sides were guaranteed to be losers, because of the survivability from the hardness, physical hardness.
Yeah.
And this was new because now the Russians could shoot down our missiles in flight. And so during this time frame, I would solve problems, help somebody with their problem. Well, here's what you want to do, kind of thing. And then DARPA brought this problem in, and the program officers immediately said, well, we've got to get this fixed. I mean, there's no question about this. This is very time urgent, #1 program. So they launched into an effort. And after several weeks, we're making no progress.
Mhm.
It was not going anywhere.
Right.
And so the general, Ken Schultz was the general, and he stopped it and he says, we're going to reorganize, and we've got to get organized to get this thing fixed. He picked me to be the project officer. That was highly unusual because I was not even a part of the missile program office. I was all ground electronics,
Right.
the command and control. How do you launch the missile, the security systems, the communications, all of that stuff. Missile was over here in the elite group, and it had 10 project officers. The missile was broken. Every part of the missile had a different program. Each was headed by either a lieutenant colonel or a full colonel.
Okay.
That were now going to be reporting to not just a captain, a junior captain,
Right.
just made captain. And these colonels were crusty old colonels left over from World War II in
Sure.
Korea.
Yep. You had to watch your step.
These were they weren't having anything to do with that.
Mhm.
And so I said, well, we're going to get this done. So we held a meeting, first meeting, and I said, okay, we can't solve the problems. We don't know what they are. So I had everybody put their problems up on the board, big sheets of paper,
Right.
each person.
Right.
And I'll never forget, it was 67 between all of them that they said, these are the problems we have.
Mhm.
Worked our way through. At the end of the meeting that day, I gave them a list. I said, these are the 14 problems we're going to work on.
Right.
And this is the order in which we're going to work on them. We'll set the others aside. I'm not saying they won't be someday,
Mhm.
but today they're not a problem.
Right.
The focus is here on these 14 in this order. This is what we're going to do. And so the following Friday, which was a couple of days later, we had the first staff meeting. So I was to go back in to report this. Well, some of the colonels refused to show up at the staff meeting.
Right.
Even. They didn't like that at all. But what I found was that all of these problems really were cover my rear end by them to make sure that they had a problem out there that can't blame me.
Sure.
Not my fault.
Right.
You know, I couldn't be. So I gave the presentation. I ate a lot of Rolaids.
I can imagine.
And God's one day, you see the old movies of the military sitting around smoking cigars in the smoke spill room. That was it.
Right. They had
The
that.
general was sitting behind a desk about this big with one foot up, his foot crossed up on the desk, just watching what I was doing.
Right.
I'm sitting there sweating. Oh man, the deodorant didn't even sit in that day.
I'm sure.
But when we got through, he puffing on a cigar and he rolls back and he says, "Captain, sounds good to me. See you next week."
Okay.
So we did. We proceeded. We got the missile hardened, and I moved on. I decided since I couldn't fly, then I just didn't want to stay in the Air Force.
Right.
So I decided to go into private industry, and I did.
Good.
Good for you.
And so for a number of years, for a few years, I worked at a little company called Univac up in Minnesota. I'd never even hardly seen snow before. And I
Right.
showed up there, and it was up to my eyeballs.
Was this the Sperry people, the Sperry Univac people?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Wow. All right.
And so then I worked with a company called TRW, a small company in Washington, and I decided working for somebody else didn't work. I've got to do this myself.
Right.
I think. But I still work with, and that kind of came together when I was down in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, with a little company, and where they got themselves in trouble and they had to close the office. So I was out of a job.
Right. Okay.
So I put out a resume saying, work on anything, write some proposals.
Right.
And I got, next day, a little company there called Vitro that built radars. Called and said, got a couple of proposals here. Would you come help us with them? So I did, worked with them. That worked out fine. And took a couple of weeks, and they were offering me pay that was basically double what I was making at the job I just left.
That's hard to turn down.
Well, that was a good step. But then in 2 weeks, they said our sister company up in Washington, D.C. area has got a big proposal, and they want some help on the radar. Would you mind going up there and working with them? So I did. I went up there, and there I discovered that what I was doing as a consultant on the proposal, there was a cottage industry out there
Okay.
doing this.
Right.
That half the people in the room were these consultants, but they were making twice what I was making.
Sure, because it's private industry,
in there,
right?
in there. And so I did that for a while with them and a couple other companies, and I decided, why am I doing all this work for somebody else? I'll just do this for myself.
That's
So I
right.
started my own company.
All right.
Good
All
for
right. I love the entrepreneurial spirit.
And so,
Right.
well, see, it was take the initiative in the leadership position. It was just one, look, we're going to do this.
Right.
And I looked at how they were doing it, and I said, no, there's a better way to do all this. Well, in that day, winning one of those major jobs was about a third of the time. They bid on 3,
Mhm.
hoped to win 1.
Right. Yeah.
When I sold the business in about 2008, our lifetime record was just under 90% wins.
Wow.
We had,
Incredible.
but we very successful in doing this. Not a big company. I want to be right more than big.
That's right.
And so we did in there. And so, and along the way, we did some other things, like I got interested in water sports
Mhm.
business. Wouldn't mention theirs. I also have a U.S. Coast Guard captain's license.
Okay.
Time I can go to work tomorrow on a ship captain.
Well, Senator, there's only a couple of branches that you don't have credentials in.
Yeah. Well, I also am a commercial pilot also.
Oh, well, okay then. Here we go.
But and so we had water sports business, parasail boats, jet skis, pontoon boats, beach chairs, and things like that in the Destin, Florida area.
Right.
That was my idea of what was going to be retirement
Mhm.
to that business, and I was going to be at the beach. I love doing the parasailing, loved the jet skis. That was just really. We also had an operation out of the Fontainebleau in Miami.
Okay. What a great hotel.
And I had worked with Disney. I set up the Disney's Castaway Key, their private island.
Oh,
in the
right.
Bahamas. I set up
Right.
their jet skis and parasail operation down there.
Now, is this when God started working on you?
No, he's the other things. I didn't choose. I mean,
Right.
I got stumbled
laid them in
into
your
it, pushed into it. Every one of these, he had been making a change.
Sure.
And so his next really big move was my plans to retire at the beach in Destin were shattered one day when Kay handed me a note and said, "This is where I'm going to be in Rockwall, Texas, if you'd care to join me."
Okay.
Oh.
All right.
That's when I had discovered that female Texans are like monarch butterflies.
Right. Yes.
When grandkids come along, they come back
They
to the
have to
roost.
return
home.
And
I understand.
I couldn't argue against that.
Yeah.
So I said, I got to get something out of this. If I'm going to move back to that godforsaken place called
Right.
Texas,
Right.
which I came screaming, scratching, and hollering. I did not want to come here. That was not my idea. And I kept looking in the rearview mirror all the way here.
Mhm.
I said, I got to get something out of this. How about if we look for a house at an airport so I can have my airplane at the house?
Okay.
I live in an
Right.
airport. And she said, okay. Sowings is in 45 minutes of Rockwall. Oh, well, there was only one place. That was at Tailwind Airport in Canton, Texas, just
Okay.
outside of Canton,
All right.
Penzance County. And so we found a lot there and started building a house. And that was just about the time that the Tea Party came alive.
Okay.
And Doc Collins, Doc was a veterinarian, and he held the first Tea Party meeting there in Texas. I see, all of this stuff, I didn't plan any.
Right,
None of this
right.
it just happened. But I had gotten kind of miffed at George Bush with his TARP bailout and
Mhm,
some other
that's
stuff
right.
he did. And I saw Obama coming. And
Right.
I thought, we can't have that.
Yeah.
So I went out of curiosity. I went to that first Tea Party meeting. And he had a gentleman there that gave a presentation around a book called The 5,000 Year Leap by Cleon Skolson.
Okay.
I've read it 3 times now, and I will guarantee you I will read it again
Right.
in there. But it's a story about how our founding fathers reached back over 5,000 years, picked the best parts of republics in that 5,000 years, blended them with biblical principles,
hmm
and created the second greatest document ever written right after the Bible,
Right.
our Constitution,
That's right.
in there that is based on biblical principles blended with a Republican form of government.
That's right.
Period. I hadn't thought about that much at all. And then went to another meeting, and a couple of meetings later, I was there, and the guy came up to me. I'd never seen him before, but he'd seen me. And he said, "Bob, have you read Tom Brokaw's book, The Greatest Generation?"
Yeah. Terrific.
I said, "No."
Terrific read.
I said, "No, I hadn't." He says, you ought to read this."
Yeah.
So he handed it to me. I sat down and started reading that. I couldn't stop. I read it cover to cover. That book was about the people who raised me.
You bet.
That was my father, my uncles, my scoutmaster, my coaches, my teachers, everybody that lived in our
It
neighborhood.
really hit home, and it had this personal, profound impact, right?
It talked about how women came out of the homes and went into the factories and started building planes and bombs and tanks.
Sure.
They became flight instructors. They did all kinds of things they'd never done before. People put their cars up on blocks because they had rationing for gasoline.
That's right, and rubber for tires and everything else, right?
And this was at the tail end of the Great Depression that they'd already lived through there in doing this. And you know, like my father was a disabled veteran. He'd gotten wounded in Europe. I had his brother, younger brother, was shot in Sicily in Italy, and then captured in Italy. Spent 3 years in a POW camp. My other uncle jumped into Corregidor and was one of the lucky ones to make that jump. And all the others that I had known. And then at the end of the war, they had won them both. They won both of them.
That's right.
Two biggest, each one was bigger than anything that had ever been fought before. And this was all just soaking into me how I had not really thought of how monumental that was.
Right.
And we did not conquer either one of our enemies. We liberated the people.
That's right.
We took American liberty, the concepts of a Republican form of government, that they changed a little bit, but it took them on a new direction. And look at them today.
That's right.
And they never talked about it. They just didn't have much to say.
They were following orders, and they did what they were asked to do.
Yep. And that's when the guilt trip kind of started coming in.
Okay.
God put me on a guilt trip, and basically, as I was contemplating all of this stuff and looking around, God says, you know, I've been pretty good to you. You're not wealthy, but you got a roof over your house that's pretty nice.
Right.
You got a couple of cars in the garage. You got an airplane. You got more guns and ammunition you'll ever need.
Welcome to Texas.
So,
We're proud of them.
Right.
Let's
and
go.
He says it's about time you start giving back more. And so that's how I got involved with the Tea Party.
Right.
And so we spun off and formed the third Tea Party group in little old Van Zandt County.
Sure.
55,000 people.
Okay.
We had we met every 2 weeks, and sometimes would have 250 people come to our Tea Party meeting.
Wow.
I traveled all over the state helping other group people form Tea Parties in their locations. And in 2010, we worked real hard and got across the state, not just me, but across the state working together. I think it was 23 House reps elected. And so that started to change the House.
That's a lot of movement. You know, you can really change the complexion of the legislature when you have that many people in there under one banner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then coming along for 2012, and people were starting to pay more attention to what are our legislators doing in Austin.
Right.
And we had a senator there who was the most liberal senator in Texas. He voted more like a Democrat.
Right.
And it was there in black and white, no question about it. But nobody knew it. And so got it publicized. And so I started interviewing people, trying to talk them into running. For 2 years, I tried to recruit people. That's why I tried to recruit Dan Flynn at one time.
Okay. All right.
I was just going to ask you if you knew Dan Flynn.
Yes, I knew
I
Dan
used
Flynn.
to sing in a quartet with Dan Flynn.
Okay, that's a whole other story, but that was
That's a different
before he changed, and he was still a good, strong conservative. And but nobody would do it, and so Kay and I, we kept talking about what are we going to do, how we do it. And we really came to the conclusion: if not us, who? And if not now, when?
Yes, sir.
And we prayed about it. Now, if she were here, she'd say, "Yeah, I was praying. God, don't let him go do this.
Right.
Please don't let him go do this."
Yeah, I've heard prayers out loud like that before.
Yeah. And so we did. We decided. I took the step and ran.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably one of the most worst pieces of news I'd ever gotten, a real gut kick, came right after the polls closed that year, when my opponent, Bob Dewell, managed to convince the Republican Party that I was not eligible to run,
Okay.
and with no evidence,
Right.
none at all. He just talked them into it, threatened to sue them if they didn't take me off the ballot. So they took me off the ballot. But God knew what he was doing, because in all reality, I was not ready.
Well, something tells me that steeled your resolve
Oh, yeah.
and gave you the ability to just dig down that much deeper and want it that much
I
more.
said, we got a tea party to run.
Let's go.
So we went back to doing it, and that session was redistricting time.
Okay.
And they did the redistricting, and when it was over with, we have to draw straws in the Senate to see who's going to run for a 2-year term
Mm-hmm.
and a 4-year, so you get them on
Sure.
back on,
Right.
on track. Well, they drew a 2-year term.
Okay.
Because I was like, I can't do this for 4 years.
Right.
2 years, we can do this.
Right.
So we got busy, and we started working on it. Still running the Tea Party and kind of running, and I filed and ran. It was about $15,000
Right.
for the primary. That was it. And I got a lot of comments from folks. You sound like a good guy. It might be all right, but I just think you can't beat an incumbent. Well, there are 3 of us in the race.
Okay.
There was a 3rd one, and he was a single issue guy. He would stand up in front of the audience, and he'd look at the audience. Then he'd say, "I hate toll roads."
Right. Okay.
And,
Right.
and that was his issue.
Sure.
But there were a lot of people who didn't like toll roads.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
So
Hard to base a campaign off of that, but okay.
so we got into into a runoff, because out of the 30,000 some odd number of votes cast,
Mhm.
my opponent, the incumbent, Bob Dewell, failed to win outright
Okay.
by 78 votes.
Come on, run off.
So in a runoff. So now we have, and that I had no clue that a runoff with an incumbent
Mhm.
is a whole new ball game.
Right.
Whole
Right.
new ball game. I had no clue that was. All of a sudden, people woke up and said, "Whoa, maybe this guy just might have a chance of winning this thing."
Yeah.
And so they came on board. I got people like Luke Macias who called me. I'd never heard of Luke before, and told me who he was as a consultant. I said, "Well, Luke, I don't have any money. I can't pay you anything. What you're asking for,
Right.
thousands a month." I said, "Well," he says, "Tell you what." He says, "You don't have to pay me." He said, "If you don't win, you don't owe me a dime. If you win, you'll get enough donations to pay me for having working for you." But I said, "Okay." Don Huffines won his race
Sure.
outright.
Yeah.
So he sends me his son and his campaign team to help run my campaign
Terrific.
in there.
So now you've got some horsepower.
And, and then we got and we got some donations that came
Okay.
in, and so we had homeschool mothers would come down from Denton and other places, bring them a van full of kids
Right.
to knock on doors for a day, and
Fantastic.
said, left and right. And so we campaigned, we worked, and we were at the polls. Kay and I were at the polls every day, and we were there on election day. Got there before 7:00 and stayed there. We didn't leave after 7, talking to people after leaving. And we were driving home. We were kind of laughing, giggling about, well, what are we going to get in the motor home tomorrow? And
Right.
let's go back to Destin and
Right.
have a vacation. Or
Right.
what are we going to do? And and honestly, that I really felt that way. I said, we're going to win this, and he's going to win it.
Awesome.
Our-
That's right.
As he tells us, our responsibility to make ready the horse for the battle.
That's right.
He'll pick the winner. So
There you go.
got there, a house full of people monitoring the returns. They were starting to come in by that time. And over the next few hours, it would change by sometimes as little as 1 vote,
Okay.
10 votes, 25
Wow.
votes, back
Yeah.
and forth. And then he would creep up a little bit and then back down again.
Yeah.
And then I started creeping up. And then somewhere before, around close to 11 o'clock, got a call and said, "Secretary of State's called it for you. You won it."
All right.
We won it by exactly 300 votes.
No
Wow.
kidding. That's
300.
incredible.
And
Those van loads of kids helped.
Thank goodness for the homeschool.
My phone started ringing, and I got text messages, and people called it the Gideon win.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
Gideon, if you recall, Gideon showed up a little over 30,000 men. And
Yep.
God says, "I'm going to let you have 300 so you know I did this."
Yeah.
And so
There you go.
that's what got me into it.
That
awesome.
what an incredible story of perseverance and of knowledge on the technology side, and of really kind of following your promptings, I think, by God. with regards to what and when to get involved at the right timing. Just a terrific story. And, Senator, I've been in the area for a little less than 10 years, and you've just been a stalwart here for us here in Rockwall County. And I know that your district goes far beyond Rockwall County. But, in Senate District 2, what are some of the things that during your political career that you're the most proud of?
One of the things I didn't have that much to do with, but that freshman class in 2015, there was 8 of us that came in. We changed the Senate. We moved the Senate from being the liberal body to the conservative body under the leadership of Dan Patrick.
Right.
The combination of 8 new senators and Patrick moved stuff significantly. And so, and in that time frame, working with people like Don Huffines, who did a fantastic job. And I hated to see him not come back, but his district changed, and the Democrat came in his place. But that first year in there, one of the things is we stopped 635 East from being a toll road.
Right.
It was going to be a toll road.
Right.
So we got that stopped. And then there are other things with transportation, like no longer have to have your vehicle inspected.
Right.
It was a total waste of time. I knew that from having worked with the U.S. Department of Transportation for years in one of my jobs.
It was just heavy-handed government regulation.
It was just government regulations. Oh, we got rid of the red light cameras, which was, to me, were just flat unconstitutional. And then we started working on the constitutional rights to self-defense with campus carry, constitutional carry, open carry. We made Texas a sanctuary state where no federal gun law that exceeds the Texas skin law can be enforced. Right. You can carry your gun into a hotel if you're traveling. You get to carry it in there.
Right.
And if you happen to slip up and carry a gun with a 30-06 sign, instead of a felony, it's now only a misdemeanor.
I think it's safe to say, Senator, that if invasion ever happens in the United States, Texas isn't their point of entry.
Right.
So.
No, don't think so. But prior to getting elected, I had C-scope was a big issue at the schools. And I was up in Mount Pleasant talking to a group up there, and there was another gentleman up there who was talking on the same subject. His name was Frank Gaffney.
Okay.
Frank Gaffney, you see him on Fox News all the time. But during the break, he would be on the phone, and I would hear part of the conversation with a small room, couldn't help but hear the thing. And he kept talking about EMP. Okay. I find out, Frank, what in the world are you talking about? He says, well, trying to get Congress to do something about protecting our electric grid from EMP. I said, our electric grid? What are you talking about? So he explained to me. See, I had not mentioned the word since leaving the Air Force.
And that's part of your background.
Because it was so highly classified. I said, you're kidding. I said, when we were in the 60s, electricity was a luxury, so we never even thought about that. We were talking about the missiles. I said, oh, that's interesting. He talked a little bit about it. It didn't think that much more about it. About 2 weeks later, I'm in a doctor's office, and they had a coffee table with magazines. They stacked 40, 50 magazines. At the very top in the middle, the only one you could see the whole cover of, was a Mechanics Illustrated magazine, and the title on it was EMP Threat to the U.S. Grid.
Okay.
And so I started reading that. It talked about the White House Commission on the EMP threat. I made a note of what it was and sent off and got a copy of their report. And one of the authors of it was a fellow by the name of Dr. Peter Pry, who's no longer with us. But about a month later, I was at another meeting, and Peter was there. I didn't know who he was, and the issue came up again. And he said, Bob, he says, Texas has its own electric grid. I said, no, I didn't know that. He says, yeah, it has its own grid. He says, if you get elected, then I decided to run. Right. If you get elected, you ought to do something about protecting the Texas electric grid.
And Senator, I know that has been really one of your cornerstones.
Yes.
And your legacy here in Texas.
Oh, but I'm not there yet.
Right. I know.
Not there yet.
Right. Okay.
And so Peter, and I thought that's interesting. Yeah, I'll think about that.
Right.
And that's kind of where I put it. Yeah, I'll think about it. Well, I get elected, and on the first day that we're in session, if you've ever been down there, the Capitol is packed
Yeah,
with people.
it is.
You wait to get on the elevator. It's always filled.
Right.
No matter when it is, it's packed and filled with people. Well, I got out from the office, went out to go somewhere, went to the elevator. There was nobody by the elevator. Opened the door. There was nobody on the elevator.
Mhm.
I get on it, and just as the door is closing, a hand comes in, stops the door, opens up. The guy comes in. I'd never seen him before. And we just was going all the way up to the top. And so got into the, well, who are you and why are you here? And I told him, and he said, and I said, well, who are you? And he said, well, my name is Tommy Waller, and I work for Frank Gaffney, and he sent me down here to find somebody to process a bill to protect the Texas electric grid.
Okay.
And so I said,
Serendipity. Here I am.
That
let's
was nice.
talk.
Right.
And so that, I mean, only God
Right.
could have made that arrangement.
That's right.
For that.
That's
And
right.
so we started it then, and when I started, there was nobody in the Capitol that could even spell EMP.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, at the end of that first session, with all of what I talked about, they gave me a tinfoil hat
Okay.
in there. And we went from that to working on that each session to this past session. We got the bill passed. We got a unanimous vote in the Senate. We got a unanimous vote in the House on a
Fantastic.
bill to actually
Mhm.
take meaningful action to protect our electrical grid system.
Mhm.
Thank you very much for doing that. I know those of us that were here that lived through the debacle in the wintertime where we had some grid failure due to the lack of insulation units on, some of the wind-powered assets that we have are all very grateful for that.
Yeah.
And Senator, it's probably not common knowledge, at least it wasn't for me, that Texas used to be really, really blue. It used to be heavily Democratic. When did that shift come about?
I think that came out with Reagan.
With Reagan. Okay, gotcha.
With Reagan, yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
Rockwall was a longtime Democrat
Yeah.
from here.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
Yes, sir.
I worked for a while, and he told me his story of his wife had been after him to retire. He was a Democrat because he was a blue dog Democrat.
Yeah.
And that's it. It was kind of a shift that was made.
Right.
In this happening. And so he was supposed to just not run again and was going to retire. It
Right.
came down to the last day.
Okay.
And he got up and he said, I just can't quit yet. So he got in his car and he drove to Austin and he registered to run as a Republican.
Okay.
And the news got it.
Right. Of
And it
course.
was on the 5 o'clock news
Uh-huh.
before he could drive home.
You bet. Big deal.
Oh, wow.
His wife was waiting at the door and said she almost didn't let me in there.
Right.
In there. So yeah, he was a part of that big shift that took place.
Understood. That's just one of those fun facts that, today we can't imagine Texas not being as red as it is. And as they say about Austin, the best thing about Austin is that it's surrounded by Texas. So I think that certainly works for us here as well.
Well, I often say when I get back here, it's nice to be back in Texas.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we are very appreciative of that. In the last session in the 89th, there was a lot of conversation about zoning. And fortunately, Rockwall County was bracketed out of a lot of the zoning restrictions that were, passed on some municipalities and, what have you. And I just wanted to know your thought on the probability of that issue being readdressed again or brought back up again in the 90th legislative agenda. And if so, how might our communities in a growing, area like Rockwall County, where there has been and will continue to be so much growth, should think about that?
I think a lot will depend on what happens as a result of this law being passed, where
Right.
we now have different rules for operating
Sure.
counties, of how that works out.
Right.
And it could be for the bad or it could be for the good.
Mhm.
And I would expect, I have no idea of knowing what it's going to look like by the time we go back into session of what's happened and what people will feel about whether we need to do more of or backtrack on it. And I think it will be based on kind of like, okay, let's see how that worked out. How
Right.
it works out.
Right.
And which to me, I would agree completely with taking that position as opposed to being one way or the other.
Right.
I'd like to see how that works out. Does it make a difference?
Right.
If it did, is it for the good or is it not for the good?
Right.
And what do we learn out of it
Yeah.
that we might make an adjustment that would affect everybody.
Right. I know where I live in Heath, it's 1 home, 1 acre, right? That's sort of in our ordinances. In other municipalities, Forney, McClendon, Chisholm, Fate, Royce City, et cetera, there are much smaller parcels that are allotted for other types of development and or higher density development. So that'll be an interesting thing to follow. I know we in local government are certainly very concerned about that. We appreciate your openness to always speak with us and help us look at things maybe from a higher perspective. So thank you for that.
No, and I'd hope that we would continue to look at what are the other contributing factors that cause us concern
Right.
about the higher density.
Yeah.
Maybe there's other solutions, other problems out there that could be addressed.
Yeah, you bet.
And to handle it, because we have such an incredible financial change that's taken place.
That's right.
You've got 30-year-olds still living at home, not because they want to be there necessarily. Some of them do.
Right.
But there are others there that they just can't afford to get a house. And so we have that issue of affordability that we don't want to discriminate against folks and take advantage of it. And we have the issue of property rights.
Yes.
That is very high when you come down to a Republican form of government. Individual rights and property rights are right there at the top of what we're trying to protect.
That's right.
And so sometimes the feeling of protection of one feels like an attack on another.
Right.
And a lot of that is due to what has happened to our society since our country was first founded. It was founded with people who had a much stronger understanding of rights and responsibilities.
Right.
The fact that they are inseparable. Matter of fact, if you think of rights and responsibilities like on a coin, one side is responsibilities, the other side of that coin is rights.
Right.
One doesn't go without the other.
Right.
And their attitude about recognizing that was, my rights end where yours begin.
Sure. Right.
But you don't have to tell me that. I know that, and I don't violate your rights. And that's what we've drifted away from. We have so many people that say, I'm going to encroach until I'm stopped.
Right. Yeah.
And we no longer have that self-discipline, self-responsibility. Thus, we end up with so many more laws today than what our founding fathers ever envisioned. Because it's like Benjamin Franklin said, it's a republic if you can keep it. But also it is a form of government that only works with a righteous people.
Yeah, that's right.
You cannot have this form of government and unrighteous people who don't recognize the inseparability of rights and responsibilities.
Right. Well, I'm certainly hopeful, and in this area in Rockwall County, that there is some discussion and openness about perhaps a one-size-fits-all isn't appropriate for everyone in every municipality. Every one, at least of the 5 or so in Rockwall County, are all a little bit different. So thank you for your openness, and we'll see how things develop. And your door has always been open for us, and we really appreciate that. So, Senator, one of the other things that's talked about a lot here, and Governor Abbott's come out, very strongly for property tax reform. And no one likes the idea of having to pay property taxes on a home that they already own, et cetera. What are your thoughts on his position on property tax reform? When I look at my bill, somewhere between 56 and 60% of property taxes for the ISD. There's about 18% for the county, and maybe around 16% or so for local municipal services and water and sewer and DPS and what have you. Why do you think the governor's direction is towards kind of the smallest piece of the property tax element? And what's your thought on that?
I really don't know what's behind his approach to it. And it is one that has so many elements to it.
It does.
That you can have, there are multiple possibilities for solution to it. One of the things that we have to recognize is that if you're going to have government, you're going to have taxes. Taxes are inevitable.
Right.
So that the thing that I don't find is talked about enough when we talk about cutting taxes.
Mhm.
What do we want to cut in services?
Right.
What do we want to eliminate in services?
What's the offset?
Okay, tell me what is it? It's a whack-a-mole.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
It's whack-a-mole.
Absolutely.
And so if you're going to get rid of this tax, which one of these are you okay raising
Right.
to pay for that?
Right.
Or what service is it that money is now being spent on
Right.
that we don't need to spend it, or we would be willing to do without it?
Right.
Do we want to stop having garbage picked up?
Right.
Do we want to accept the fact that we're only going to have fresh water 3 days a week?
Right. Right.
I
Right.
mean, those are extremes.
Right.
And
Yes, sir. I
just-
understand.
But
Yeah.
there's other now. Or is there room to reduce unnecessary spending? Absolutely.
Always there is.
I
Right.
think if you take a look at the schools, which is education is the single biggest consumer of
Right.
tax money.
Absolutely. By far.
Dan Patrick likes to use the example of he talks. He would say, "See the clock on the wall? Take that minute hand, and you move it around down to about where the 7 is.
Right.
That's how much of our budget all the way around is
Right.
100. That's about what we spend on education.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you take and move that hand up a little past the 10. That's what we spend on healthcare.
Right.
Between halfway to the 10 and the 12 is what we've got left to spend on everything else.
Right. Right.
So where do we want to take the cut?
Mhm.
Well, maybe if you take a look at that big chunk in there, we might want to look at no bid contracts
Right.
as just an example of a way to look at getting more bang for the buck, more competition. And there are places to find where money is spent on stuff
Right.
that nobody wanted it, but a couple of 3 or 4 of the elected officials thought it would be a cool idea to do it.
Sure.
That's not that frequently, but it is an element.
It can happen. Right.
And the other is, we're going to build a school. Do we need to build a mausoleum,
Right. Right.
or do we need
Right.
a place to educate the
Like my
children?
dad used to say, "Do you really need the Taj Mahal?"
Oh yeah, yeah. So, but the question of property tax, yeah, I'd love to see it go away,
Right.
but I can't find the tax that I'd like to have raised
Right.
to take its place.
Yeah, that's Senator, and that's kind of where I come out on this as well, right? So you can reduce property taxes, but now are you willing to pay a 23% sales tax?
Yeah.
Do you now want to pay a consumption tax? It's that whack-a-mole prospect that you're talking about, that it's going to come from somewhere else because services cost money, or you have to make those difficult choices with your community. Which things do you want to do without?
Mhm.
And you said that very, very well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think everyone in spirit wants to see property taxes reduced or eliminated. Absolutely. How we go about doing it is, I think, the debate and the open discussion that needs to occur.
But one of the things that's kind of underlying to that I hear more complaints about from people,
Right.
more than the amount of what their tax bill is. It's the fact that the appraised value on their house goes up.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think we have some optics in
Yes.
this that I would be very much in favor of getting a system where we remove that increase in value of an asset,
Right.
unrealized income
Sure.
being taxed, and look at holding, because see, the argument comes back, you get the local elected officials who set the tax rate, you have the appraisal that sets the appraised value,
Right.
and they both blame each other
Yeah,
for
right.
the taxes going up.
Right.
Yeah.
My idea is, let's get the responsibility in one place,
Mhm.
freeze the value of the homes,
Right.
and allow new property to be appraised at new property value.
Mhm.
House sells, it will pay. Now, realtors will oppose this because they'll say it will put a damper on property sales. Yeah, it may for a while, but it will go away. It will go away. But leave the property value alone. Let the city council
Mhm.
and the county commissioners set a tax rate, and I'm okay limiting that without voter approval at some point, whether it's
Right.
2%, 3%, whatever's a reasonable number.
Right.
If they're going to go above that, let it go to the public to vote for it,
Right.
and say, yeah, we do want
Right.
that new whatever they're talking about building.
Right. Right. Let the people decide.
Give them more of a say in it,
Right.
which we've kind of worked at trying to do that, but we really haven't gotten it right yet.
That's right.
In doing this, we can come up because you've got those who are adamantly opposed to any change to the appraisal process, and you've got to have that.
Right.
And those absolutely say we need to get rid of that. Well, I think it's time for a reasonable compromise here. I would be very much in favor of freeze that property value. And then you got one group making a single decision
Right.
on whether the property tax goes up.
Right.
And you leave open anything that's new.
Right.
It's fair game.
Right.
Over here.
Mhm.
And the other is let the people get involved. If you say, guys, we just need another 0.5%
Right.
in here. Will you agree to it?
Right.
And I would say let it be a 60% vote.
Right.
I don't think push it up to 75%, but I also think that 50% is too low, particularly in light of the low turnouts.
Right.
Yes.
Well, there's, undoubtedly there's going to be a lot of discussion about this as time goes on. And I just think that we have to remain flexible to all of these different options that you're talking about. Senator, my last question for you, and you've been very gracious with your time today, and we really appreciate you. How can the public, you're up for re-election, you have an opponent. How can our listeners and the people viewing this program learn more about you and learn more about your campaign?
My website, senatorbobhall.com.
Got it.
No dots, no abbreviations, all spelled out. Senatorbobhall.com.
Right.
And a Facebook page, Senator Bob Hall.
Fantastic. Well, Senator, listen, you've been, again, so gracious with your time. We're so very appreciative of you spending your afternoon here with us. We very much appreciate all of your representation for all of us here in Senate District 2, and we wish you the best of luck in your campaign, sir.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you much. And I'll
Yes,
tell you
sir.
that the only campaign promise I made when I first ran
Right.
was that I'd go to God every day on my knees and ask for his wisdom,
Right.
his courage, and his strength
Right.
to know and do his will.
That's awesome.
And I will keep that promise.
Senator Hall, so tell us about the lottery.
In 2023, I discovered that Texas had been housing a criminal organization operating within our state government, running the Texas lottery.
Huh.
When I first discovered that,
Okay.
nobody believed me. Nobody thought it was for real.
Yeah.
But it came about when I started questioning the issue of the $95 million win in April of 2023. Everyone said, how many did he buy? He said, $11 million worth. And I said,
Oh,
what? In cash? Didn't that raise a red flag? I mean, the problem lied with having this courier service that was able to sell you a ticket and then they would go in and buy it for you. And I said, I don't understand it, but it seems wrong. And I tried to stop that. I put a rider in the budget bill in 2023 that would say they couldn't use the couriers.
Wow.
But they ignored that.
Oh, they did.
They ignored it. They had been swindled out of several $1 million in this buy. Out that it wasn't just that one location in Colleyville. There were 3 other locations that operated very similar. They had sold $26 million worth of tickets to these 4 locations, which means they bought every combination possible. So they had a guaranteed win. $1 million being paid to someone in China who had bought a ticket.
Oh my gosh.
One of the people that worked for one of the lottery organizations had won the lottery back to back, not just once or twice, but 147 times.
No.
And they brought us a video that was taken inside one of the facilities.
So it is all fixed. We've always
Wow.
wondered.
Oh yeah.
Hi, I'm Kim Johnson with the Kim Johnson Group of Remax Store Corners, and welcome to the Local Blend. Rockwall County, it's officially that season again. Guess what?
What time is it? What time is it?
The yard signs are blooming.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yard signs. It's
You
coming.
know what that means.
The mailers are multiplying, and those inboxes are booming.
Yes. Guess what time?
This must be election season.
Yeah,
Election
Okay,
season.
yeah.
That's what we call it.
You're getting ready to send yours out
too.
too.
Maybe. We'll see.
The Network Blender guys, as you know, we are not here to tell you who to vote for. democracy, it works best whenever you know what works best for you.
Right.
That's right.
Taking advantage of your right to vote.
Right. Everybody has their own opinion, and that's
Mhm.
great. Just be informed.
And that's why it matters in our community, because whenever you're informed, you can make that best decision of how you would like your community to have your voice.
Yeah, what matters to you? Everybody's needs are different.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yep, because voting is not a pop quiz. It's an open book test. And it is
Right.
open for every single person to read
That's
it.
right.
It's up to you to open that book and read it.
Yeah. So how are we going to find out?
The network blender has a network mixer, and it's at Shenanigans, and it's going to be on January the 26th
And
at
it's so
4:30.
fun.
Fantastic.
Yes. And
Great
guess what?
turnouts.
At this one, we are opening up to every candidate, and we're opening up to everyone who is currently in office. And it's not going to be your normal 30-second pop quiz. It is going to be where you can engage, have a cocktail, ask those conversations, have a sip of tea, sit down and talk to these people and handshake with them and get to know them and ask them your questions. It's an open dialogue forum.
Love it.
You know, Kim, that's so great. Being able to talk to the candidates one-on-one and really see kind of where they land on the issues, the things that are important to everyone, and everyone has a different opinion of what that is, I think is incredibly important. So,
Well, and everybody has a different issue.
yep, that's right. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah. that's
Because
gonna be
when
fun.
you take the candidate off the podium, you take the conversation on the floor, and it hits the community a little different.
Yeah.
And it helps you resonate. You learn a lot about a person whenever you take them out from behind the podium.
Well, good.
That's right.
So
Well, it's going to be fun. What
Come
date
on
is
out.
the network mixer?
it's going to be January the 26th at 4:30 p.m. at Shenanigans in Rockwall. Everyone is welcome. We're totally bipartisan.
Bipartisan. And
See?
you know what?
There you go.
The last
bipartisan.
time we went to Shenanigans, there were go-karts and bowling balls
Yes,
involved.
It was
Okay.
so fun.
Right.
So come on out.
Come
you never know.
on and get ready to have some fun.
What else is
have a
going
few
on?
things. And we also want you to mark your calendars, because on February the 9th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the center at Rockwall City Place. Always almost mess that up. And I'm sure everybody else watching does that too. You are going to get a meet and greet with your candidate. So come out, hear them, listen to them, hear what they have to say, and look and see which one resonates for you and the vision that you have for Rockwall County.
That's going to be fun. That's
It's
going
so
to be
it's so
exciting.
important to be a part of the process, Kim, right?
Mhm.
And you really can't do that unless you understand what position these candidates take. So
And how often can you get all your candidates in one place?
not very often. Not
Yeah,
very often
Not
at
very
all.
often.
And
Perfect.
because whenever you know what you're voting for, your vote carries a lot more weight than
Yes.
whenever you're just out there lackadaisically hitting a button or voting straight down the board, or just scared to show up because you think that your vote does not matter.
Right.
It matters.
It does matter.
It matters.
Awesome.
And I've seen that a lot.
February the 9th.
Yes,
6
that's
to 8.
February the 9th. So come on
Meet
out.
the candidate. Okay.
Yes.
Put it on your calendar. Don't
I
forget
will.
it on your
I will.
calendar.
It's marked. Let's go.
Couple little fun things that we have for you guys. There are some nonprofit items. Meals on Wheels is going to do a little Pistol and Pearls bingo segment.
Oh.
And it's going to be on
B27.
Yeah, it's at Texas Gun Ranch, and so everybody
wonderful.
seems to really enjoy that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
going to be fun.
And that's going to be on January the 24th. And as you know, they help our homebound senior citizens in our local community. So it's a great cause, and it's a great fun time.
And
So,
who doesn't love pistols and pearls?
And bingo.
And bingo.
And bingo, right?
Awesome. That's right.
Got a few stories to tell
All
about
right.
that. Another thing is we have Women in Need, and as you know, Women in Need is not just for men or women. I don't know if anybody knows that.
I didn't know that
No.
until you told me
It's
that.
for men, women, and children, and they help with respite care. They also help with education, legal, and just emergency resources in the event that their domestic violence needs are needing to be met at that time.
Oh, that's good.
And the great thing about this one is at 501 Yacht Club, and it's on February the 13th.
And this is their fundraiser.
Yes, it is.
To raise
It's
it.
called
Okay.
Chocolate Indulgence.
Oh,
Oh, that
wow.
sounds good.
So
Just
grab
in
a
time
date.
for Valentine's.
Yes,
Okay.
if you
All
men
right.
are looking for a way to take the ladies out, take them there. It's for
Right.
a great cause, a good
Great
time,
date night.
and it's going to be at 501 Yacht Club, and you get to dress up nice and get some pretty pictures.
That's terrific.
Awesome.
Good.
All right.
Oh, so now let's talk about real estate. So in real estate, Rockwall County, we've been riding it like a roller coaster at the State Fair of Texas. That's all I'm going to tell you. We're up, we're down, we're in and out. Are any of you in that box yet?
No, not yet, but maybe soon.
Well, it's like a tug
I'm
of
not,
war.
but my kids are.
Right.
Well,
Yep.
it's like a tug of war. It's a buyer's market, it's a seller's market.
Mhm.
But whenever you poise yourself with your right agent or your right pricing, you can see a great outcome. And Rockwall is still a great place to live, and you can get a whole lot of home for a great price right now if you look and you poise yourself in the right way.
Awesome.
So we want you to make decisions that you can build wealth and not regret. So thank you for
Awesome.
joining me today.
Great,
Awesome.
Kim. Thanks very much.
Thank you,
Thanks
Tim.
for all the information. Well, welcome to Zen and Juice. We love to share things about health and wellness. I was doing a little bit of research. What are the number one things? What's the top 3 things that people in Rockwall County are looking at and basically Googling right now? And they are talking about the skin.
Mhm.
Their skin is messed up. Did anybody eat anything weird over the holiday they don't normally eat?
Everybody carb loaded.
Carb.
Yeah.
I know.
Everybody loaded up on carbs.
And that does a number on your skin.
Yeah.
I just wanted to give you just a few little tips of what it might look like to take care of your skin. Home maintenance is so important, especially right now after coming out of the holidays. Just taking care of your skin so it can look smooth and flawless as
Right.
much as possible.
Right.
I am getting a little older, so it doesn't always.
Oh,
look that
come on.
way.
You look great.
You're always glowing.
Okay. But dehydration and dullness, that's the number one. Right. So we look tired, we look flat. So drinking water. But water is not the only thing that will help with dryness in your skin. So making sure you're exfoliating well, getting rid of dead skin cells at the surface of the skin, and rebuilding that skin barrier is going to be very important through this process. Water's not the only thing. And then moisturizing a little extra. I know we were talking about that the other day. Moisturizing a little extra right now because we're feeling a little dry.
Right. Yeah.
Just drinking more water doesn't solve all of it, but it doesn't hurt. Breakouts. Anybody have any breakouts
I
happening?
do.
Did you have any? Do men have that? I
No.
don't
Well,
know.
they do maybe.
Maybe.
Sometimes.
Not you.
Yeah.
Congestion and texture. Texture is key. So exfoliating, again, we go back to that. Make sure you're getting enough rest. You know, one thing I like to tell people is after the holidays, we're tired.
Right.
I mean, is anybody tired?
Yeah. You have to get right back on a schedule, right? I think we
Right.
tend to, after the holidays, stay up too late and everything else, is trying to get the house put back together. But really getting back on that schedule and getting, in bed so you can get that 8 hours of good sleep
That's
is
right.
really critical, I think.
Exactly. And the most simple thing you can do is drink water and get rest.
That's right.
I mean, those 2 things alone really do matter. So weather changes. We've had a lot of wind. I mean, who has Christmas and it's 80 degrees outside? We spend a lot of
I
time
got a
outside at
sunburn.
Christmas.
Yeah,
I
I
went
know.
swimming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went swimming. I
Right.
literally went swimming on Christmas
Right.
Day.
And now we're getting cold.
Yeah.
And so
We get our obligatory 2 weeks of winter, and then
Yes.
we're good to go. Come on, spring.
obligatory 2 weeks. Well, I tell everybody, make sure you give yourself grace when you feel like you need to take a nap.
Yeah.
If you need to take a nap, take a nap.
Right.
I know I'm in my car a lot. I live in my car. I know y'all do too.
Same.
I don't know. You don't live in your car as much, but you're always behind a computer,
I am.
always on a phone.
Absolutely right. Yes.
So I like to get to an appointment early and just close my eyes for just a second, get my thoughts together,
Mhm.
and just take care of that. So always important to take care of you. And then I just really want to end with give yourself grace.
Right.
Give yourself grace. Drink more water. Eat better foods. Less carbs. That's always good.
Yes, it is. Get back to leafy
One
green
thing-
vegetables.
Less carbs and plenty of rest. So enjoy this year. 2026 is going to be great. So many of us have big goals. Set your goals. Don't be afraid to say them out loud. I mean, how important is that?
Yeah, listen, when you can bring other people into the things that you're trying to achieve, when it's written, it becomes real. And when
Yes.
it's vocal, you have a lot better chance of achieving
Yes.
those things.
Yes.
So I agree with you, Tammy.
So now's the time. So let's get our heads together. Let's rest,
Right.
drink water, and let's get going. So thank you so much and stay tuned. All right. Thank you for being here today. We've had a great show. We appreciate you joining in with us. It's been a fun day. We just want to thank real quick our sponsors, The Hub at Bait Station, who always gives us the greatest places to record and be here with our guests. So we're so grateful for them. And then Shenanigans, who loves to have us at the Network Mixer, which will
Right.
be the 4th Monday of every month. So make sure you come by. We appreciate Shenanigans. And then to Pablo's in Heath, who always allows us to utilize their space when we need to. So thank you for being here. Thank you for joining in. Remember, like, share, and comment on all of our videos, and share them with your favorite people. And we appreciate you being here. I'm Tammy Escobedo.
I'm Scott Dodson.
I'm Kim Johnson.
I'm Maya Crowsey.
And we are the
The
Network
Network
Blender.
Blender.